Hey everyone, it's Jessica and I'm back with another memory planner spread. I am playing along with a Rediscover Your Stash hop today using rub-ons as a feature product this month. So I decided I'm going to pull out my memory planner and do a spread in this weekly little journal or planner. This is actually the Stop the Blur planner by Heidi Swapp. I like her format and I really like how it's laid out by a weekly spread here. So I have stamped July 10 through 16 there. You can see I've already stamped all of my numbers. I actually think I just forgot to include those videos in my process because I had those videos, but I don't think I included them in this video because it is just such a long video to begin with. It's normally my videos are like, I don't know, 10-12 minutes, but this one's a lot longer just because it takes me longer to do these spreads. So I like to add some interactive embellishments on these and little features. So as you can see here, I'm creating a little, kind of like a little pocket to go with all of these photos, and that's kind of how I incorporate a lot of photos. So on this one day, I think it's like the 15th there, on that Saturday, I created a little it's a little cardstock flip up, and I'm just using a paper from Heidi Swapp's Set Sail collection, and that's actually where the tag on the left side where the blueberries are, that's actually from that collection as well. So I'm just using up bits of that and using them in this memory planner spread. I'm going to be using a lot of Heidi Swapp products today from the Stop the Blur kits. I'm also going to be using some Elle Studio, some Scrappin Happy Studio Flair, and just some various bits from my stash. But settle in because it is a little bit of a long process just because I have so many interactive elements on this spread, so it does take a little bit longer to get everything on video here and show everything. So I've got all of these photos. I printed these smaller photos on a 4x6 photo, and I actually got my collage print to include 8 photos on there on that 4x6. So that's the sizing of them, and I just kind of cut them down to where I needed them to go and just worked them into this spread. So I have my blueberries one. That one's actually a bigger photo because it was just printed with my normal wallet size photos that I print monthly or every other month, and I normally print them wallet size for scrapbooking, but since I didn't use that one in my scrapbook, it was the only one that I had, and I didn't want to do a whole full 12x12 layout for those blueberries, so I just stuck them on this memory planner spread, and that's kind of what I've been doing lately. I've just been pulling out all of the random photos that are kind of like a day-to-day life type thing, and I've been scrapbooking most of those types of photos in this memory planner. So I've got these stamps by Heidi Swapp that I'm going to stamp Farm Fresh by the blueberries here. I've made them on that little tag just by taping that down with some washi tape on both sides and creating a little flip up element. And then I'll do a little bit of journaling underneath on the tag itself. And I've got 4 different colors of Distress Oxides here that I'm using today. Evergreen Bough, I'll use a darker blue one, Uncharted Mariner, I believe, and then Dried Marigold and Mustard Seed are the 4 colors that I'm using today. The product focus for Rediscover Your Stash Hop is rub-ons, so I've pulled out these beautiful rub-ons by 49 Market. These are from various collections. I pulled out some from Art Options Spice collection. I pulled out some from their travel collections, so I've got like a lot going on here, but I am going to mix them all into this spread, and it's going to flow very nicely whenever they're all done. I'm going to go ahead and get that stamping done. I fast forwarded that for you so you didn't have to watch me stamp each letter, but that's how it looks whenever it's done. And then I just continue building around this, filling in with my photos. I'm grabbing an interactive element from another Stop the Blur kit by Heidi Swapp for this bottom section here. I think she actually uses hers flipped over the other way, so it opens the opposite way, but I liked mine like this, so that's how I'm using it. And I did distress the edges of it all around the outside edges, and then later I'll finish it off by doodling some little black lines on it as well, just to give it a little extra touch. And I'm basically just cutting my photos down. So these photos are all already pretty small, but in order to make them all fit, because I wanted them all in here, I printed quite a few gardening photos here, so I wanted them to all fit into this little interactive pocket. So I just trimmed down the sides and just trimmed the photos themselves down a little bit, and it's fine. You can still see most of the photos, and everything works out quite nicely on this, and everything managed to fit in there really nicely. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish tacking these down. I'm just using my ATG gun to adhere these ones onto this little interactive element, and to affix this to the actual memory planner spread, I ended up using some Thermal Web Easy Tear Tape because it's double-sided, but it's super strong. I did that for the other interactive element as well, so it's nice to use something like that because it is really, really strong. It's going to hold up a lot better than my ATG gun does over time, and it'll hold up well whenever people are actually flipping through these albums. So I'm going to continue working in these photos. Those two photos there are of my little guy learning how to write his first name and kind of get him ready for pre-K. So he already knows how to write his name by the time he starts, and he's doing great. He only has to learn 2 letters because his name's Otto, O-T-T-O, so he's in pretty good shape. I've got some more rub-ons here that I'm adding just as another little fun element over here, and I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. Just make sure that you have a good application on those rub-ons. I like to use a bone folder to actually transfer those, and I like to use the flat side versus the pointed end, depending on what I'm doing or where I'm putting it. It just seems like it's a little bit quicker for me whenever I use that end. I've got this little pool party sticker from a Happy Planner kit or a Happy Planner little sticker book. So I'm going to use that right there and then fill this in with some leaves. I love these cute little rub-on leaves. I think they're super special and they go perfect with my little gardening spread down here. So I'm going to add these over here. I'm going to actually grab a couple more and add them onto the other side to make it flow nicely from page to page. And I've got this interactive element pretty much done at this point, just doing some light distressing on these edges, and then again, as I mentioned earlier, I'll do a doodly black line around that as well towards the end here. And I'm actually going to add a couple little embellishments too from one of the Simple Stories collections. I think it's called Homegrown. So I'll do that a little bit later. I kind of bounce around whenever I'm doing these spreads and just kind of work on whatever suits my fancy. Sometimes I'll do the harder elements first to get them out of the way, or the larger elements. That way I kind of know what space I have left to work with after I get those large pieces on there. And it just makes it a little bit easier for me when I'm working with a lot of photos like this. I have them all laid out, before I start, and kind of do some pre-planning on which photos I'm going to use on which days, so I kind of keep them in date order and just kind of do some layout before I start my process, just to do a little bit of pre-planning and kind of get an idea of what I want to use or what I want to do. And that just kind of makes it easier for me to kind of see all of my photos laid out and see how much space I need and what I need to work with, what I need to fill in, and if I need to grab some additional memes or anything like that to fill in some extra space. I've got more Stop the Blur features here that I'm using from some more of Heidi's kits. So I'm going to use some of these to fill in some more photos and do some journaling on this little tag here. These photos up here on this day, we actually had a really bad storm overnight, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw like this big gaping hole in our tree line by our driveway, and I didn't really think too much of it at the time because it was in the middle of the night. But you know how like when the moonlight is pretty bright, you can kind of make out silhouettes of like trees and things. I could tell that there was a gaping hole there, but I'm like, well, it's the middle of the night. What am I going to do about it? I'm not going to go out there. We have like bears and coyotes and stuff, so there's no way that I'm going outside in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. So no, thank you. I will look at it in the daylight. So when it was daylight, I went outside to see what was going on, and I saw that we had several trees that had fallen down in our tree line and little wooded area, and it actually just barely missed my husband's truck. It was on his flatbed part of his truck, but it didn't do any damage to his actual truck. And the funny part about this is my husband is very, very particular about his vehicles, and our vehicles like never sit outside, the ones that we actually care about. And his truck was literally just outside for the night. He had just pulled it down there because he was working on something else in that part of the garage. He has a huge garage. It's like 60 by 80 feet. And he needed all the space that he has in that garage to work on something else. So he literally just pulled that out for the night. And then that happened. And it barely missed his truck. So he is very, very lucky, I would say. And that's just like like our crazy little story, and things seem to like happen to us like this quite frequently, where just crazy stuff happens. So yeah, that's that day. And then down here, I am just using this little interactive element here to add a couple more photos in there, and then grabbing a circular element. I'm going to do some stamping on this from another one of Heidi's stamp sets and get that on there. And yeah, so I'm just kind of filling in at this point. I'm just adding some really fun little stamps. Stamping is something that I absolutely love to do. So I love doing these little memory planner spreads because I just love to incorporate my stamping. So it's just a fun way to use your stamps and your supplies and get them out and just play. And then these little binder clips are actually from a set. I think I got them like from wish.com or some random website. So I don't actually know where they're from, if they're available anywhere, but I think that's where those are from. And it comes in 3 different sizes, and I love them. I use them all the time, and I love using them on these spreads. And then some Elle Studio stamps here. I'm going to stamp some hearts on this just to finish that off. I felt like it had a little bit of white space that was just begging to be filled in, so I just added those cute little hearts there. And yeah, so that's gonna pretty much finish that one off. I'm gonna add one of these little emojis from Heidi's little kits here, and then I'm just gonna stick this down in my book because that one's finished off, and that's how I want it to look. Again, using some easy tear tape on that just to make sure that it's really securely fastened. So I've got that. The backing is hard for me to peel off. I use tweezers, but it's hard for me to peel off because my nails are pretty thick. So normally, like with regular nails, I don't even need to use tweezers, but since I've been getting my nails done, it's just harder for me to pull them off. So I'm just sticking down the rest of my photos there. I'm going to actually make a little tag for this photo at the bottom here that's in my hand, using another one of those scrap pieces from the Set Sail kit from Heidi's collection. And yeah, I'm going to do some journaling here. I was just looking to see when my meetings were for work that day. I do work a full-time job, believe it or not. I don't scrap all day. I wish I did, but I don't scrap all day. That's just kind of my hobby and my chill time and my what grounds me. I have a kind of stressful job working as a financial coordinator for a large university, and it does get kind of stressful sometimes. So I have a lot of Zoom meetings throughout the week, and yeah, all the things. So a lot of stuff going on here these days, especially with the kiddos. They're in school. The boys are in school, and baby girl is 2 and very, very active and into everything at this point. So life is just absolutely crazy. We've got our home that we currently live in, and then we have our farm that's about a mile down the road from us, and we don't live there right now. We're actually renovating that farmhouse and trying to get it move-in ready so we can move and live there. And so yeah, for now we're just kind of between both places, and in the summer we are basically at the farm all the time, but it's a great place for my kids to play. We have cows there. The kids really enjoy helping out with the animals and feeding and any of the chores that we do, cleaning out their chicken coop, stuff like that. We're selling eggs and just kind of doing all the farmy things. So it's just a lot of fun for us, and the kids are, I think, having a really good experience. I would like to hope that they're having a good experience and having a good life and learning some life skills on the farm. So we try to do as much as we can with them and incorporate them in our day-to-day chores. And we also go camping in the summer, and that's always exciting. We have a beach trip planned for this summer, so that'll be really fun, and I'll get some pictures of somewhere else. I feel like the past few years we've just been doing basically the same things, going to the same campground all the time because my husband loves the same campground and only that campground basically, but we all love it, so it's okay. But I personally would like to explore some other places and just have my kids experience some other things that I have seen in my life and just be able to share those things with them. So So I'm happy that this year we're getting a nice beach trip in to somewhere different that we have never been before. So that should be really fun and exciting. It's up north on Lake Ontario in New York, and it's not a southern beach, and that's okay. I wanted to do kind of a quicker trip for us because long car rides with our kids are kind of crazy and hard to manage at times. So they get kind of bored in the car. So I did actually manage to buy iPads for the boys for Christmas. So I think that'll help a little bit with a long car ride, but I don't want them to be on it the whole time. I don't want them to get sick. So, we have a TV in the car, so we have that for screen time, but I also don't want them to be having screen time the entire 4.5 hour trip either. So coloring books and different things like that will be in the car for the kids on that long car ride, but our beach that we actually love to go to is actually Kitty Hawk, North Carolina in the Outer Banks. That's where my husband and I had always went for quite a few years in a row before we had kids. And we just always kind of went there every summer for a few years and quite a few years. And that's just like our place, but it takes us about 7.5, 8.5 hours, depending on traffic and when we leave to get there. So yeah, so I didn't want to spend that long in the car with the kids. So this is kind of like a happy medium. We get some beach time, but it's a little closer for us. It's not quite the same environment. There's not, the huge, what do they call it, nightlife or whatever. There's not a whole lot of places to go as far as food and things like that. Everything's kind of sporadic up there, so we'll see. But they also have fun things to do, like a zoo, and my kids can bring their bikes and we can ride bikes. There's a nice park nearby. There's definitely things to do, so it should be a really fun adventure. So we'll see what we get into. But yeah, that's kind of like my crazy life update, where we're at, what we're doing, where we're going, all of the things. This little fun stamp here is also another one by Heidi Swapp. It's just a really fun little sign that you can make, and I just love it that it's a big arrow. I didn't realize until I cut it out that it actually cuts out that little outline too, so I stamped another one in the Uncharted Mariner color so that I could have a nice dark blue outline on my little arrow sign here. And I'm going to put that down at the bottom because we actually had ate out that night at barbecue place, and I used some Elle's Studio alphabet stickers there to say the name of the place, and then I did this little cute sign. So I'm just gonna glue down the outline, and then I'm gonna pop up the middle of it, like that main sign part, with some 3D foam squares, have that pop up off the page. And then I remembered that I have a cute little barbecue icon stamp, so I'm gonna actually stamp that on that sign too. So I just think it looks super cute. And then I'm just going to stamp a few other little elements there to fill this in. I'm going to fill in a couple other things, do a little bit of journaling, and then that's going to finish this one up. So I'm just going to add some music in here for the rest, and then I will show you guys the close-ups at the end here. So here's what the finished spread looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed this process today and watching this come together and listening to my stories and me ramble. If you guys want to play along with this hop, you can. You can play along in the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group by Sarah Scraps, and you can post your finished project using rub-ons in her group. So thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.